Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Four podcast. No Alex today. Luke is in his car, so this ought to be interesting. Mike's with us on Zoom. And our first segment today, and we're doing football today.
Well, I just want all the ladies to know that I have a car with a wink.
Okay. I know everybody's locked into this Iowa Northwestern game as we speak, but we're gonna talk some football. Give some Big Ten season grades for each of the teams. So I'm just gonna go right down the line here and start at the top. Ohio State. What grade do you give Ohio State for this year?
And hey, the goal every year for Ohio State is to win the Big Ten and win the Big Ten, beat Michigan, and make the playoff. Obviously, they couldn't beat Michigan because they chickened out, so it's an A. It would be an A+ if they beat Michigan. Mike, you going to grade them or what?
F, because the goal each year is to beat Michigan. They didn't do it, so F for Ohio State.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with a B+ for Ohio State. They look kind of shaky in some games. They did win the Big Ten. And as you guys said, they didn't beat Michigan. So
Chris, you're the guy. All you say is that all that matters is if you win or lose. What more did you want Ohio State to do?
I want them to look a little bit better.
Okay.
And they didn't beat Michigan.
It doesn't matter. They won all their games.
So B+. Okay. Northwestern.
A-, because I think they outperformed expectations. They won the Big Ten West, but they're still kind of a little bit short. This is probably one of the best teams they've had since Pat Fitzgerald's tenure, but they just couldn't. I mean, they've been to a couple of Big East championship games now, so I mean, it would be an A if they won it, but they didn't, so it's an A-.
I'm going to go B. I mean, obviously, for Northwestern, very good season, but you lost to Michigan State, a really bad Michigan State team. That brings your letter grade down at least 1. So I've gone from an A to a B. Really nothing else they could have done besides beat Michigan State, but they did everything else well. So, solid year for Northwestern.
Yeah, I go A+ here. Northwestern. There's no history at Northwestern. There's no, big expectations at Northwestern. And whenever you win the West and get to the Big Ten championship and put up a decent fight against Ohio State, as an A+ season for Northwestern. Okay, Indiana. Okay, Mike, Indiana.
I'm going to give Indiana an A. I mean, you beat every team on your schedule except for Ohio State. You lose to Ohio State by 7 points. You beat the Big Three. Teams you haven't been able to beat: Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State. Beat Wisconsin. That's an A season.
I agree. I'll go with an A. Would have been A+. They beat Ohio State because I think they had a chance to win that game. But good season for Indiana. A. All right, Iowa.
I'll go. Okay, C. I'm going to give Iowa C because the expectations for this Iowa team were get to the Big Ten championship, put up a fight, and they just laid an egg the first 2 weeks of the year. They started off with an F the first 2 weeks, and they brought it up all the way to a C. They were the second best team in the Big Ten. I don't care what anybody says. They're better than Indiana. They're better than Northwestern. They lost to Northwestern, lost to which turned out to be a really bad Purdue team. Just not a very great season. If I'm an Iowa fan, I'm pissed because we wasted probably one of the best teams Kirk Ferentz has had since probably 2015 that year. I'd be pissed. I'm going to give him a C.
Yeah, I go with C+ here. By the way, let's make this clear. Mike thought Iowa sucked before the season started. So there's that.
Well, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Okay. But yeah, the non-conference, if it hurt one team really bad, it's Iowa. Because they couldn't get anything straightened out in the non-conference. They suffered those 2 close losses at the beginning of the season. But yeah, they straightened it out. I agree. They were the second best team in the Big Ten. So C plus, just because of those first 2 games of the year.
What team are we talking about?
Iowa.
Iowa, C.
All right, great.
Actually, probably a D, because Iowa's goal every year should be win the Big Ten West. They should be the best team every year, especially right now in that crappy division. And they didn't do it, so C. Or D.
All right. Wisconsin.
Oh, D minus. Same thing with Wisconsin. Their goal should be to win the division every year, and they didn't. And they had a horrible year. Plus COVID, D.
Wisconsin's grade is incomplete. They didn't play enough games. Had too many COVID opt-outs too. Not really opt-outs, but players out. Too many injuries. If we're getting the sample size, I mean, you beat Minnesota, so you got that trophy back. I'll give them a D plus. I mean, you beat Michigan. You couldn't really get anything going on the offensive side, but that was a lot of injuries. I'll give them a D plus, I guess.
D minus. The only reason that it's not an F is because they beat their rival Minnesota, a game they should have lost. But they get destroyed by Iowa. They lose to Indiana. They lose to Northwestern. It's disappointment for Wisconsin after they looked so good in that first game against Illinois. Not a good season for Wisconsin.
Looked so good against Michigan.
Okay, Minnesota.
C minus, D. Once again, I mean, Minnesota coming off of last year, which was probably an A, and maybe a B plus last year. This is a little letdown year. Obviously, a couple of COVID opt-outs, weird season, but they just didn't live up to their expectations. So I'd probably give them a D plus to a C minus.
Well, my expectations for Minnesota were they were going to be a 500 football team. That's basically what they were. So I'll give them a B minus. They didn't do anything. They didn't really surpass expectations for me. They didn't lower.
And they didn't beat either of their rivals, did they? They lost to Michigan and they lost to Wisconsin.
Yeah, calling Michigan a rival is a stretch. I mean, I guess.
No, little brown jug.
Trophy.
Little brown jug.
Yeah, there's a trophy in Minnesota. Well, every game Minnesota plays is a rivalry game. You have to remember
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I'll give them a B minus.
I go with C minus here. Kind of a middling team. They had some expectations coming into the year. You can't lose to Michigan. I'm sorry, you just can't do it. That's embarrassing, and they get blown out too. So embarrassing.
Well, we all know if Minnesota played Michigan tomorrow, they'd win.
Well,
by 2
they lost
touchdowns.
them. You can't lose to. I'm sorry, you just can't lose to Michigan.
It was the first game of the year.
You can't lose to Michigan. I don't care what the circumstances are. You can't lose to them. C minus. All right, Penn State.
Yeah, well, Michigan was ranked at the time, so.
Penn State.
D minus. The only reason it's on the F is because they won the toilet bowl. And they didn't have any problems with coaches touching kids, so that automatically gets them off the F.
Yeah.
Yeah, D minus. I mean, the ending of the year was pretty good, but obviously not what they wanted. They expected to win every game except for the Ohio State game, and obviously that didn't happen. So D minus.
F.
No.
You can't be ranked in the top 10 and go 4 and 5.
They won their last 5 games.
I don't care. They lost 4 games. I don't care because you can't be ranked in the top 10 and go 4 and 5. It's an F for Penn State.
But you can because Michigan did it this year.
No, we went 2 and 4. Okay, next team, Maryland.
I give Maryland a B, maybe a B. Yeah, probably a B. I mean, they won more games than people probably thought they were. They took some steps forward this year under Mike Loxley, and I think they have a bright future. They've been recruiting well. Mike Loxley's been recruiting well, and I think they had a decent year. I give them a B.
I give them a D plus. I mean, just embarrassing. You canceled 2 games against Michigan State, 2 different weeks. It's absolutely absurd. The games you did play, you played all right in some games. Penn State, definitely the highlight of your year. But, I mean, last year they would have got probably an F after the 3-0 start, going 3-9. This year, they're not an F, they're D plus, so it was a little bit better, but obviously not really an ideal season for them. They lost to Rutgers, so not great.
Yeah, I give them a B minus. good wins against Penn State and Minnesota. Probably games that nobody really expected them to win coming into the year. Tough loss to Rutgers, but the other two losses, Northwestern and Indiana, whatever. You're supposed to lose those games. So, good season. Decent season for Maryland. All right. Nebraska.
Nebraska, I'll give them a D minus. Obviously didn't get to the expectations they were looking for. Lost a couple really bad games. Showed some flashes though.
C minus. I don't know what's there.
Okay. D minus for me for Nebraska.
Okay, yeah, I agree with Mike. D minus. You can't be doing this at Nebraska. Scott Frost needs to be fired. This is absolutely embarrassing what they did this year.
No. Next year's his year. If he doesn't show up next year, he's going to get fired.
Okay, Purdue.
I'm assuming I'm going.
Luke, Purdue, Luke.
Hello.
Purdue.
Well, I want to say I gave Nebraska a C minus.
Yes, we heard you. That's late news. Purdue.
Okay. Purdue, a D. I mean, they didn't do anything special, did they?
Beat Iowa.
I guess. C minus.
If we're looking at Purdue's entire year from a program, recruiting, which has been way down, look at results on the field. It's just that's an F for if you're Jeff Brom. What is this year 4 for him? Just a complete and total failure this year. You're coming into the year had a bunch of weapons, decent quarterback. Defense was a disaster. Just not exactly what they were looking for. I'll give him an F. Next year he's on the hot seat.
C minus for me. Purdue, you can only do so much. They beat Iowa, but very disappointing end of the season for Purdue. So I'll go C minus. And some close.
Well, they're paying him like $6-7 million a year to win more than 2 games.
Well, yeah, they had some close games that they could have won too. So we'll see. All right, Rutgers.
No excuses.
Who?
Rutgers.
B plus. Mainly, not as much. And a lot of that's on how much you could tell their improvement from Chris Ash to Greg Schiano. This year they just look like an actual football team. You had to take them seriously going into the game, or else they could beat you. I think they a couple of teams. I give you plus.
Yeah, I'll give them an A. Obviously, you bring in a bunch of transfers, and they all play.
Okay, you can't give them an A when they only win 2 to 3 football games.
I can't 2 or 3 more games than they usually win. So
you're looking at a program that wins probably less than 1 Big Ten game a year ever since they've joined the Big Ten. The fact they won 2 or 3, they win 3, that's 3 times as good as what they usually are. So that's an A for me. Schiano still has to prove he can develop guys, but he was able to go out in the transfer market and get some impact transfers. I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, I go A plus here. 3 wins in conference, unheard of for Rutgers. So great season. Not much else you can say. All right, Michigan.
F. Just F.
Okay.
Just an F. It was just, the whole thing was bad. Not only on the field, off the field, they were bad, and now they're not even getting rid of Jim Harbaugh. I would actually, if they played bad and then fired Jim Harbaugh, I'd probably give them a C+. That's a pretty improved year. You got rid of the worst coach I've ever seen. But no. So because they're keeping him, it's an F.
Well, the only reason why I give them a D minus, not an F.
Maybe a D minus because they beat Minnesota, who's a rival.
No, it's not even that. It's the fact that they were able to hold on to some of their recruits in the early signing period, which if you're an F, you don't really do that. You usually lose all your guys. But that means your program's in a complete spiral. I don't think it's in a complete spiral, but it's obviously not where it should be. So that's a D minus for me.
I go F here, and it would be an F minus, but we did a great job avoiding Ohio State, so that keeps it from an F minus. But other than that, complete disaster of a season. We're a joke of a program, so not much else to say. Okay, Illinois.
I don't know. C minus. They fired Lovie Smith, so that's an improvement. They didn't really do anything. They won a few games, I guess, but
D plus. I mean, it wasn't a great season. They had some good wins. Good win against Nebraska. Great win against Rutgers. But obviously, what is this, year 5 or year 6 under Lovie Smith? Just not the development you really needed to see from him. Obviously, he needed to go. But they weren't horrible, so D plus for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say D. They're not a great season. I was not happy they fired Lovie Smith, but I can't be mad about the Bielema hiring. So not great. All right, the last team is Michigan State.
B, I would say. I mean, I know they only won 2 games, which isn't good for Michigan State. But I think they showed to be a decent team. They won the games that mattered. They beat Michigan. And they look like they have a future. So I'll give them a B.
I'm going to go C plus. Got those 2 big wins. Youngest team in the Big Ten, very inconsistent. I think we've kind of figured out the quarterback thing a little bit towards the end of the year. Defense was very inconsistent, but hey, I think Mel Tucker's shown he can get his guys motivated for a big game. Did it twice. I'll give him a C plus. If it wasn't for those 2 games, it'd obviously be an F. But those 2 games definitely factor in. But we'll have to show significant improvement next year. Also, I'll give him a C plus this year.
Yeah, I go A plus because the only game that matters on Michigan State's schedule is Michigan, as we know, and they beat Michigan, so A plus. All right, we got some coaching news here, and Luke will need your input on this.
Yes, because I'm the master.
Yeah, that's right. So Auburn has hired former Boise State head coach Brian Harsin. Jed Fish, Patriots quarterback coach, who has just done wonders with the Patriots quarterbacks this year, going to Arizona. Don Brown's fired by Michigan, and then after that, we'll go to Luke for some coaches' hot seat updates. But what do you guys think of these 3 hirings and the firing of Don Brown?
Well, Don Brown needs to go. That defense, here's my problem with Don Brown, is that the defense clearly worked some years. Like when he was at BC, his first couple years at Michigan, but he didn't recruit to his thing at all. How do you run that type of defense where you leave your corners on an island with minimal safety help over the top and not recruit top cornerbacks in the country? I mean, it just didn't.
Well, they have one. The problem is they have one, and they never throw at. They always throw it the wrong. They always throw it green and gray. They never. Yeah, because they don't have enough of them. They only have one.
Well, that's the problem. They didn't recruit
Who's
to it. Here's the thing. Michigan actually has recruited okay. They just can't develop. I've never seen anything like it.
I don't know about that.
They haven't. Who have they developed?
You could say that. Have you looked at the guys on the field?
Every big time recruit they've gone has been a bum at Michigan and then gets drafted to the NFL and it's good. It's clearly the coaching is a problem at Michigan. Donovan Peoples-Jones, the guy the Packers had that got paid $300K.
Rashawn Gary.
I mean, I just don't get it. And then, Don Brown had to go. Arizona? I mean, I don't know who Arizona would have gone. I think the coaches available right now are very thin, especially for top programs, like mid programs maybe. But Arizona kind of just get the second helpings. I feel like, and there's just not much there. I mean. You could go, like, the top 2 guys I think everyone agrees on are Luke Fickell and Matt Campbell, and neither of those guys are leaving where they are to go to Arizona. Are you kidding me?
What about Gus?
Gus, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be a good hire for Arizona.
Gus wouldn't take it.
I don't think Gus would go, though. I mean, I don't think Arizona's a big job. I think it's kind of run down. Now you have Herm Edwards and Arizona State are looking like they're on the up. I mean, I just don't know why you'd want to go there. I think that the Boise State coach, I think he's a good coach, and obviously the Auburn job's one of the hardest jobs in the country. I think he'll probably do just what Gus did. But the problem I have with the Auburn hire has nothing to do with the coach and everything to do with they were clearly not prepared going into the coaching hire. They got their fourth or fifth option. They just didn't know who they just fired Gus to fire Gus. Now, I'm not a fan of keeping coaches around just because you don't know who you're going to get. But when you fire somebody, you have to have a plan in place to get someone else in, and they just clearly didn't have a plan in place. That's my big problem with what Auburn did.
By the way, Mike, the corner I was talking about was Daxton Hill. Nobody ever throws at Daxton Hill.
He doesn't even play corner. He's a safety.
No, they had to play him at corner because they don't have any corners.
He's a safety.
No, he plays corner.
When we played Michigan, he was a safety.
Well, if you watch the games towards the end of the year, they started playing him at corner because they don't have any corners.
Obviously it didn't help.
Yes, it did. They just threw a gray and green.
Yeah, played real well against Wisconsin. Played real well against Indiana.
Well, it wasn't because of Daxton Hill. They don't throw at Daxton Hill. No, nobody throws at Daxton Hill.
Yeah, well, he sucks.
Even you said he should have gone. He should have gone to Alabama. That's how good he is.
Well, he wouldn't have played, but yeah, he should have went to Alabama.
No, he would play. He's a 5-star. He'd be playing right now.
Yeah, well, he's probably a 2-star before Michigan got him. Because once Michigan gets him, he automatically bumps 3 stars. Zach Charbonnet. I'll start with Don Brown. Obviously needed to happen. I think that all this proves that Jim Harbaugh's coming back. You don't fire your defensive coordinator and not your head coach. So obviously he's gone. I think they're going to go get Derek Mason. Maybe they'll go out and try to get DJ Durkin. He really does run his players into the ground. It's really been, but he's been proven to be successful. He did it before at Michigan, pretty good. The 2 years he was there. But you look at Arizona. I don't see how you could be excited for this hire. You just got to hope and pray that this guy's decent. Of course.
I mean, are there really? Come on now. Are there really any Arizona? Does Arizona really care that much about football?
I mean, obviously they do because they just fired their coach.
Yeah, well, every single coach in my lifetime they've hired has just been someone else's sloppy seconds. Kevin Sumlin, Rich Rod. I mean, that's all they do. So at least they're changing it up, trying to get a younger guy.
Yeah, well, my biggest problem with him is he's in the Jim Harbaugh coaching tree, so he's obviously not going to be successful. But if you're an Arizona fan, I'm not sure you can be excited with this hire. Really, no head coaching experience. He was the quarterback's coach at Michigan, went to UCLA for a couple of years, then went to the Patriots. There's really no clear experience. I guess you got to hope and pray that he's a decent coach. Because if he's not, then your program's going to be behind another 5 years. Luke, I agree with you. The whole coaching search was a complete another shit show for Auburn. But, you got to give credit where credit's due. I love the hire. I love that they went outside the box. They didn't just hire.
They went outside the box because everybody inside the box.
No.
The box is empty.
I disagree with you. I think I have inside sources here. They were going to hire Kevin Steele. They were going to hire Kevin Steele to be their head coach. And the athletic director basically shot down all the boosters because all the boosters wanted is they all wanted Kevin Steele. And what the president did is he backed the AD, and they actually had a real coaching search, and they came up with Brian Harsin. And I like the hire because it wasn't just some random SEC defensive coordinator like Tennessee with Jeremy Pruitt, like South Carolina with Will Muschamp.
Georgia with what's his face? Kirby Smart.
Okay, yeah, that's another example. They went out and they got a proven head coach, a proven winner, a guy who can build a program. Now I don't know if he's going to be a good recruiter in the South. Nobody knows that, but he's a proven winner. It's a really tough place to win. You could say, oh, Boise, it was built up, but he's got to keep that built up. It's not easy to recruit to Boise, Idaho. It's not. So I love the hire. He just has to surround himself with the right coaches. If he does that, it'll be a home run hire for Auburn. I think he's got the potential to be better than Gus. He's going to be running a more contemporary offense than Gus did. I think that's going to help in the long run. So I like the hire. I give that a B+. I give Arizona's hire a D. Really, we'll see. what happens there. And by the way, Arkansas State getting Bush Jones, I give them an A+. That's a great hire.
Yeah, so Don Brown being fired, that was a long time coming. Should have happened a while ago, so good job getting that done. I won't spend too much time on that. I don't want to talk about these other two. This Arizona hire, Jed Fish is just... You look at what he's done this year with the Patriots quarterbacks, and you can see why everybody loves him so much. The Patriots have obviously have some of the best quarterback play in the league this year, so it's a great hire for Arizona. Makes a lot of sense. As for Auburn, complete clown show of a coaching search, and they go out and they get Walmart Gus Malzahn. They get a guy who's a good coach. We don't know if he can coach in the SEC. He's a good coach, and we have no idea if he can recruit. Probably.
Well, no one knew if Urban Meyer could coach in the SEC. No one knew if Nick Saban could coach
probably
in the SEC.
Can't recruit. We know Gus Malzahn can coach in the SEC. Probably can't recruit.
Not good enough, obviously.
Gus Malzahn was a top 15 class every year.
Not this year.
You want a better class than that? Well, they're not going to get it with this guy, so I don't really understand the hire.
How do you know? You have no proof of that.
Well, just
Urban Meyer, the head coach at Utah. How the hell did you know that he was going to get top 5 classes at Florida?
Well, I know that they should have been in the national championship, and that's what I know at Utah. So,
what about Nick Saban? He came from Michigan State. They'd won 10 games at most, and he goes to LSU, and they're getting top recruiting classes. He wins the national championship.
Yeah,
well,
this isn't from the Mountain West. You can't hire some random guy from the Mountain West at Auburn. I'm
right.
Sorry.
You have no idea.
You can't do that at Auburn. You can't just hire some random guy from the Mountain West. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. Embarrassing hire. I give him an F. Okay. Oh, Luke, do you have any news on the coach's hot seat? Okay. I guess Luke has no news on the coaching hot seat. So who do we think will win the Heisman Trophy? Luke, do you have any news on the coach's hot seat?
Not much movement other than the coaches who have been fired, but a couple big ones is Jeremy Pruitt and Clay Helton have moved up to number 2 and 3. Jim Harbaugh is still at the top. Jeff Brom moves into the top 5, and here's the interesting one I find is Scott Frost, Mike Leach, Justin Fuente, and Dino Babers have all dropped. But I think Scott Frost, Mike Leach, and Fuente are all safe for another year. I think Babers might be gone. But other than that, there's no really big news. Steve Adazio on the hot seat. Butch Davis is on the hot seat, apparently. Even though I'm pretty sure he got hired away, didn't he? Oh, no, he's still at FIU. I was thinking of someone else. Greg Schiano's on the warm seat. And that's all the news, pretty much.
Okay.
Jonathan Smith is up, and he's on the warm seat now, Mike.
Oh.
Yeah, well, okay. Here's what I'll say. I think this is the hot seat for next year. If you look at the top 5, maybe not Jim Harbaugh, but Jeremy Pruitt, he's going to be gone after next year, most likely. Clay Helton, I don't freaking know. I think he's gone, but who knows? He might stay. Tom Herman, it really depends. For USC and Texas, it depends on who they're going to get for those two. Unless Tom Herman and Clay Helton have great years next year. Jeff Brom, I think he's going to be gone. Scott Frost, same way. He's got to have a good year. Mike Leach, who the hell knows? I think he's going to be safe for at least another 2 years. Fuente, he's probably going to be gone after next year. Babers will probably be gone. Sneaky one is Dana Holgerson. He's had a terrible tenure at Houston. He's probably going to have a good year. He's got to have a good year next year. He'll be gone. And Les Miles, he's probably going to retire next year. It doesn't even matter. He's just a dinosaur.
I like a comment about Mike Leach. I think the game has passed him by. He needs to be fired because this offense just doesn't work. You look at these top teams; they can all run the football. I mean, you don't have to be a run first team, but everybody at the top can run the football. And I think they need to get more into more of that. And they don't run the ball enough, and they don't have a quarterback. They don't have an elite quarterback that's ever going to come to Mississippi State. that can lead them to winning.
Well, they have Will Rogers, and he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. So
yeah, okay, that's enough of this segment. Who is going to win the Heisman, and who should win the Heisman? I guess
Devontae Smith should win the Heisman. I think it's trending towards he will win it. I wouldn't be shocked if they gave it to someone else because the voters are stupid. But he would be my guess.
Yeah, Devontae Smith should win it, but it's hard for me to believe a wide receiver is going to win it. I know he's the betting favorite, but I've just seen too many Heisman voters take the quarterback effect into account. I think Mac Jones is going to win it, although this is probably the year that it's probably less. This is probably the least clear Heisman winner, probably in a long time. Usually going in, you know who's going to win for the most part. But this year, it's really up in the air. It just depends on how people, the mindset and the philosophy of people. I think that Mac Jones is going to win, but I think Devontae Smith should win.
I definitely agree Devontae Smith should win. I think he will win. My only concern is that the voters...
They might split the votes.
Yeah, the voters split between Mac Jones and Devontae Smith, and Trask wins it or something.
Okay, Trask is a 0% chance of winning it.
Well, he's a finalist. I think the split votes could come into effect.
No, because it's ranked choice.
No, they're going to end up splitting votes. It's going to happen. Possible.
That's not how it works.
Anyways, I'm taking Devontae Smith. All right. I believe we already did a Big Ten Bowl preview last week.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
Did we preview Wisconsin's bowl game?
Yes, we did. We went through every Big Ten Bowl game.
Really?
Okay. So let's move on to the playoff games. Okay. Alabama and Notre Dame. What do you guys have for a preview of this one?
Just go watch. All you want to see as a preview is go watch a documentary about the Gulf War and how fast the United States just destroyed Iraq. And that's pretty much going to be that game. It's going to be Alabama will be the U.S., Notre Dame will be Iraq, and Alabama will just run right through them.
Yeah, the one stat I've looked at that just shows the complete difference.
Is the spread is wider than the Big Ten championship game?
Well, it's that, and let me try to find it. Here it is. Notre Dame's top 3 wide receivers have combined for 88 receptions this year. Devontae Smith has 98 receptions on his own. That stat should tell you something. Notre Dame's not ready for this game. Game might be closer than we expect, but I think Alabama will win and cover easily.
It's going to be bigger than I expect. And I'm expecting it to be 40 points.
Yeah, I think Alabama's going to be able to put plenty of points on the board. And I think that Notre Dame won't be able to because, listen, Alabama against teams like Notre Dame, which is like Texas A&M, they held them down pretty well. It's probably going to be a similar score to Texas A&M, probably like 42-17 for me. I think Ian Book sucks. His wide receivers suck. His tight ends are good, but it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alabama's going to win easily. But if I'm looking at Notre Dame, I'll be devil's advocate here and try to explain a path to victory for Notre Dame. You obviously have to dominate the football. I'll
tell you the path to victory.
Pray.
Alabama's plane crashes.
Yeah, or Alabama gets COVID.
Yeah. Okay. So you obviously have to dominate the football. Notre Dame's been a very good running team all year. They have to be able to run the ball. They should run my offense in Madden. They should just chew the clock. You have to keep Bama's offense off the field.
They won't be able to run.
And on third down, Ian Book is going to have to make plays. He's known as a clutch quarterback. He makes those plays.
No, he's not.
He is. If you watch the Clemson game,
yeah, he was real clutch last game.
Well, they didn't need to win that game. So, you watch the first Clemson game, you'll know that he's a top 10 quarterback in the country. I think everybody agrees on that at this point. There is a big gap. There's a big gap between him and Mac Jones, but he's still a good quarterback. He's gonna have to make plays on third down, and they're gonna have to dominate the ball. And if their defense can get a couple stops,
yeah, they won't.
I'm not saying they will. I'm saying that's their path to victory. So, we'll see what happens. I think Alabama will win this game pretty handily, though. Yeah, Notre Dame might be close in the first half, but, Bama will win this game. All right. Clemson and Ohio State. Preview.
This game is going to be one of the best games of the year. I think it's going to be up there with last year's Clemson-Ohio State game. I think it's going to be a touchdown game. I think winner's going to win by a touchdown or less. On ESPN, their thing gives it a 50% chance to each team. Like this, they're so even. But I think Ohio State's going to pull it
out. No. Let's see. Clemson, this is like last year's game, except Clemson's better on both sides of the football. And Ohio State is worse on both sides of the football. And especially defense. Kerry Coombs is a joke. He's one of the worst defensive coordinators they've had there in a while. Doesn't know what to call a defense to save his life. Ohio State is going to get, they're going to get destroyed on defense. They'll score some points, decent number of points. It won't be enough. Clemson will win and probably cover. They'll probably win by 10. I'll go probably 31-21. It might be a little bit higher scoring. 38-28, probably, something like that.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty evenly matched game. I'm with Luke on this. I think Ohio State's defense has been playing a little bit better. Clemson's defense, they're pretty good. The offensive side of the ball, both teams have been running the ball pretty well. But the bottom line is I look at the quarterbacks, and Justin Fields is not playing good football. And I think that's the difference in this game. Trevor Lawrence is 30 times the quarterback Justin Fields is. And that was the difference in last year's game.
No, the difference in last year's game was they had the SEC refs. This year we had the Big 12
Well,
refs.
I don't want to hear it because Ohio State had a chance to win the game at the end, and Justin Fields saw a ghost in the end zone. He pulled a Sam Darnold and saw a ghost in the end zone.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't have mattered if they didn't call out a freaking incomplete pass.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't have mattered if he didn't see a ghost in the end zone. They could have scored at the end of the game. Trevor Lawrence would never do that.
No, you're not applying it correctly.
Lawrence made some big plays in the end of that game last year. He's going to do the same thing this year. Clemson wins close. Okay.
Nope. Ohio State's going to win, and Daddy Dabo will be crying about how they only played 6 games, and they had more rest. They were fresher than us. Blah, 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 blah. Win.
All right. Let's get to these week's picks. Mike sits 12 games up on me, 23 games up on Luke.
Obviously we haven't been making the comeback we've been hoping to, but
yeah. Okay. Notable cancellations: Iowa and Missouri, TCU and Arkansas not going to play. And we had some picks from today. The Cheez-It Bowl, Oklahoma State beat Miami. Luke, who'd you pick in that game?
Oklahoma State.
All right. Well, Luke and I picked OSU. Mike picked Miami. He fell for the Miami trap again this year. They suck. Luke, who'd you pick in Texas, Colorado?
Texas.
All right, we all picked Texas. And that game's going on right now. All right.
Texas is winning.
The Mayo Bowl.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Wake Forest and Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yep, Wisconsin.
I'm also going to take Wisconsin. The Cotton Bowl.
Wow.
Florida and Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, I think they're going to win by 30 points.
Yeah, I'm going to take the better team, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm going to take the team that doesn't have all the opt-outs, and that's Oklahoma. Florida, they got a bunch of guys opting out, not playing in the game. I think Trask.
Interesting strategy from Chris. The only chance to beat me is if he takes every other team, but he's not. He's conceding the loss.
Yeah, I'm not going to win. So, I'll take Oklahoma. Trask will keep the game close, but give me OU. All right. Tulsa and Mississippi State.
I'll take Tulsa.
I'll take Mississippi State.
Yeah, I'm going to take Mississippi State because they're a power conference team and Tulsa's not. Okay, Ball State and San Jose State.
I'll take San Jose State.
San Jose State. Brent Brennan, the guy Arizona should have got for their head coaching job. He's going to win it.
San Jose State. West Virginia and Army.
Army.
West Virginia. Army's all right, but they're not they're not great. I'll take West Virginia.
West Virginia. I don't think this is going to be remotely close. Georgia and Cincinnati.
Georgia's playing really good football. They played like this all year, they'd be in the playoff. But fun fact here about the Group of 5 teams, they have a winning record against the Power 5 teams in this bowl game. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati.
Yeah, Georgia.
Georgia. Okay, Auburn and Northwestern.
Northwestern.
Yeah, Northwestern. Auburn's not going to coach for this game.
Yeah, I don't know about this game. I mean, Auburn's obviously the more talented team on paper. I would have picked Auburn if they had...
Oh, by the way, Chris, are you off of both picks now forever?
No. Auburn, you know, I would have picked Auburn in this game if Gus was still coaching, but they don't have a head coach, technically.
No,
so.
They got Kevin Steele.
Yeah, so I'll take Northwestern. North Carolina State and Kentucky.
NC State.
Yeah, this is one of those classic SEC ACC matchups where you got an ACC team with a better record, but the game is evenly matched because you got an SEC team that has to play tougher teams. I'll take Kentucky.
I'll take an NC State. Kentucky sucks. Ole Miss and Indiana.
Oh, this is a great game, but I'll take Indiana.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Ole Miss for the upset here. Love the way Lane Kiffin's team's been playing towards the end of the year.
Mike loves quarterbacks who turn the ball over 6 times a game. So
I don't trust Tom Allen in a bowl game after he blew that 17-point lead to Tennessee last year. I'll take Ole Miss.
I'm taking Indiana. Oregon and Iowa State.
Iowa State by 1 million.
I'll take the better team, Oregon.
Iowa State blowout. All right, our last non-playoff game is Texas A&M and North Carolina.
I'll take North Carolina, I guess. I don't care.
I'll take Texas A&M.
I think this is going to be a really good game. 2 really good teams. I'll take A&M, though. Okay. We already picked Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State. All of us are taking Alabama. Mike and I are taking Clemson. Luke's taking Ohio State. We have anything else to add?
No.
Yeah, it's BS that Indiana didn't make a New Year's Six Bowl, and because of that, you had, of course, I think Northwestern would have been in the Citrus Bowl anyway, but you had to slide a couple Big Ten teams down. Now Iowa doesn't get to play in the Outback Bowl, and then what's the bowl Indiana's in right now? They're in the Outback Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So now because Iowa's not in that game, they got their bowl canceled because Missouri didn't care, and now you have the second best team in the Big Ten not being able to play in a bowl game. It's BS. They should have had Indiana in a New Year's Six game, but whatever.
You seem to forget, Mike, that bowls don't matter. So there's that.
Well, they matter to Kirk Ferentz, it seems like, because that's the only game he can win is bowl games.
Well,
they don't win any
bowl
other
games don't matter. They mean nothing. They should be abolished. All right.
Well, that's your opinion, and it's not shared by pretty much everybody else in college football. So.
That's going to do it for this edition of the Big Four Podcast. We'll be back in the next couple days with some basketball. Great game going on right now, Northwestern and Iowa, so go tune into that. Thank you, everybody, for watching.